Yo, 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 what's going on? It's the NRW. We're nerds. Rule the world. It's your boy, Kuyapi, aka Patrick Michael Strange. And I'm here with my brother from another mother, the blurred dad himself, who always levels me up, makes me smile. My brother, Glenn Lawrence. What's up, Glenn?
What's going on, sir? How you doing?
Man, I'm happy to see you, brother. And I'm happy you joined me in checking out these amazing documentaries that came by the way of Amazon Prime Video. They're now available on Amazon Prime. So check them out. Uprising, Black Power, A British Story of Resistance, and Subnormal, A British Scandal. Amazing, powerful documentaries. We're going to get into a little bit, but as y'all know, if you watch the NRW, I'm an actor, filmmaker. My brother Glenn is a filmmaker. We love films. We love making. That's why we talk about them. That's why we interview the actors. Why we review them. But it can be difficult to tell stories in a way, and I say that because for me as a filmmaker, I love to create, entertain, educate. But getting into documentary side of the house things where you actually, interface to talk with the actual people involved with certain events. I worry because my concern is that I deliver enough to give out the message that they want to give out. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That I speak their truth and not taint it or give it any bias. And I represent them as they should be represented. So that's just always been a slight concern of mine. So I try to do it in a narrative form. I research stories and then I kind of then do my take on it where I'm not kind of where I don't feel like I'm constrained a little bit. Not that, the subject would ever constrain me, but, I just want to accurately depict, when I or do my best to tell the story and not have to worry about things too much. So with that being said, our very own Glenn that you see on the screen, he dabbles with both, and he has a documentary coming out soon. We're not going to, hype that too much. We will eventually, because we want to show love on this.
Yeah, we'll definitely. What do you
guys say about documentaries
here?
Man?
We'll let you know first here at the NRW all the details about it. But yeah, there's a little bit of dabbling in documentary filmmaking. But yeah, I'm happy that this came across our desk. These stories are amazing stories. They're not the normal stories that you would hear about American racism. It's just something that has been that is worldwide, and this takes place in the UK. It's about the British struggle for the same kind of equity and equality that we fought for here in the States. It was just really, really interesting. So the first one that we'll get into, I think, is Uprising. Uprising, right? Is that the first one that we're looking at? Uprising is the first one. It was co-directed by Steve McQueen and James Rogan, and it is the vivid and visceral 3-part documentary series about a crazy event that happened in the UK. Let's throw it to the trailer real quick so you can see what it's about, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about how we felt about it.
It was just so uplifting.
It was fun,
colourful.
We didn't have much, but we were really happy.
One of the best parties of the year.
Mate, I was mad excited.
You had generations coming in at different times. The crowd was going, the vibes was nice, the music was right.
Just before 6 o'clock this morning, the singing and dancing gave way to panic.
Children have been burnt.
We didn't feel that Britain owned that tragedy. We did not matter.
The new crossfire became an us and them affair.
It felt, because I was born here, I'm not wanted.
The black community cannot just stand by and allow this to happen.
People started saying, we're going to have to do something.
We had the power and we were able to mobilize.
It was one of the proudest moments in our lives.
This is the beginning, not the end.
A pioneering 3-part documentary, Uprising.
So that is the trailer for Uprising. As you can see, it's a gripping story. I was struck by how powerful the narratives were of the people who actually survived this, the people who were there. One thing that was crazy when the guy was talking about how he was wiping his face and he thought it was like sweat. right? But then come to find out, it was like his skin kind of cracking and melting and whatnot, and he wasn't wiping sweat; he was wiping, melted skin off his face, and
Heartbreaking, man.
people jumping out of the windows to get away from the fire. And it's not just a story of a fire; it's a story of a fire that was started most likely because of racial intent, but back in the day, they didn't want to investigate it. They didn't want to go into it, and how kind of everybody was everybody on the political side and the police side were somewhat complicit in not getting this story told. And then, the community sending like nasty letters to families after their children had died. Kuya P as a father, me as a father, like, I'm just like, man, you lose your baby. And then these people are saying these nasty, hateful things to you. It's just super, super heartbreaking. It was a very gripping story. It reminded me of the MOVE bombing in Philadelphia too. Like, if in America, there was a bombing of this group that was basically out to help feed the community. They were doing community works, and they were holed up in their apartment. And the Philadelphia PD dropped a bomb on them, and people don't even believe it when you tell them that happened in America. Like they came and dropped the bombs. Like, yes, Black people have been getting bombs dropped on them. This one here is a story of the UK, but it's the same thing. Someone doing something terrible. I thought the filmmaking was amazing in this one. I thought it was great how the music moved the story, and there's a lot of like kind of Bob Marley and that the Wailers, those songs that they played were really basically singing to this era, and and what they were fighting
protest
for.
music, man.
Protest music. And it just hits different when you think about it, like, damn, they were really going through it, and this is just, it was just wild. It was wild. They even had like a cop perspective in there because there were cops who were on the other side. Uprising is great if you're looking to really kind of delve into this material. You want to hear a heartbreaking story, but a story of people coming together and triumphing a little bit. Check it out. It was amazing. It goes into how they really fought back, how they really like kind of tried to change the tide of how they were being treated, and it was just really powerful. I really, really enjoyed it. I know you liked it too, Kuya.
Oh, definitely, man. It was amazing. You know what I'm saying? In a bit, I'll get into Black Power, which was one of the more all-encompassing docs of these 3 docs, with Uprising being 3 separate docs, 3 separate films that told the story, but all of them told just and kind of just broke down even further just these amazing stories. As I was saying earlier, as a filmmaker, what I'm saying, we kind of make these, we make narrative stories based on certain events and stuff like that. And so to me, docs are just because docs are so powerful, and you want it to be right. Although there are some docs that are half truths that are influenced by the documentaries that are make it themselves and aren't actual true docs. They're very, slanted and biased. But I think for the most part, most documentaries who get into the game are wanting to give a full and real story, an honest story, or at least I know at least is the credo amongst most people that I know that make documentaries and those that I look up to. So it's hard to review documentaries like we do our regular other films that we touch upon on NRW, because and especially also as a person of color, as a person of color growing up in America, we get very slanted and biased history. And so we don't get much of history. And so as you get older, you read books that weren't available in your library because they weren't buying Filipino books, or African-American books. You read about James Baldwin and you hear these tales and you get the real stories. And so that's why I also appreciate documentarians, especially documentarians of color, to bring about these stories that you never hear. So this amazing series that's on Amazon Prime, Uprising, Black Power, Subnormal. It's hard to be negative on them. I learned so much from all of these. And before we get into it, because I'm kind of trailing off, Uprising was fantastic. It broke down, as Glenn said, even further, the New Crossfire, the Black People's Day of Action, and more. But let's throw it to Black Power. I'm going to show you a little clip from Black Power, a British story of resistance right now. And then I'll tell you a little bit more about it.
The way that I was first introduced to an actual organization of Black Power, which I wanted to join, was Alexandra Palace, where there was a large conference of all the radical organizations of Asians and Blacks. Althea Jones.
To us Black people, this feels.
She spoke very eloquently, and she said she was from the Black Panther movement.
Althea Jones LeQuant came to England from Trinidad to study biochemistry at University College London. She was a fierce opponent of state-sponsored racism in Britain's former colonies and soon became leader of the Black Panther movement.
The camera is there to protect and to help and to show. This is Althea. Althea is one of the most striking, strong, determined young women.
In spite of protests from large sections of the British population, your government is prepared to continue supporting the racism and repression that the South African regime represents. Our brothers and sisters in the townships in South Africa, our brothers and sisters who are fighting right now in Zimbabwe, are taking these words beyond...
I became a member of the Black Panther movement as a consequence of hearing Althea LeQuant Jones, the leader of the Black Panthers in Brixton, speak. She was bright, she was articulate, and I decided I wanted to go to meetings to find out more about this Black Panther movement.
This is what the sister is getting at. Our generation can't tolerate schools that only prepare us to do the menial tasks.
It was in southeast London. The organisation was called Black Unity and Freedom Party. There were predominantly young men, and at the meeting we had a speaker. It was like an awakening. And I just went back all full of excitement about what I had heard and seen, and invited my school friends to come with me the following week.
There were lots of us. It was a young movement of young men and women. There were the Fasimbas, there was the Black Liberation Front, Black Panthers. I came to join the Black Unity and Freedom Party because I was ready to join a movement.
We need more black symbols. Black Tories.
March 1970, I joined a Black Power organisation, the Fasimbas. I walked into the room and I saw a sea of black faces. The first time I'd experienced that. I was overwhelmed.
The best armor we have against the prejudice.
Listen to the speakers speak, say we've been exploited for centuries, now time for us to unite. He said, black power, black power, black power. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I found something I could belong to, something I could believe in.
It was black people standing up for the first time in a way that was extremely militant. It wasn't begging, it wasn't trying to show we were equal. It was saying we know we're equal and we're not putting up with it. That's the attraction for all of us. We were all part of a huge movement of belief. We were just part of a bigger black movement and wanted to, do what we had to do, demonstrate, demand.
Boom, there you go. The trailer for Black Power, a British story of resistance. This particular doc was directed by Bafta-nominated director George Amponsa. 90 minutes, but it goes through real quick. It's all encompassing of the Black Power movement in Britain. You learn about how the movement came to be in the UK from the beginning to now. You learn about Michael X, not Malcolm X, but Michael X. And what kind of a person he was. Stokely Carmichael, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X when they visited the UK. Just the amazing movement that happened, in particular with people that you should know, like Althea Jones LeQuant, Darcus Howe, and Roy Sowell. They were the prime figures in the UK that helped push the Black Power movement into what we know in Britain. And it's so fascinating. And again, as I stated earlier, we don't get these stories in America. We don't get these stories as people of color from outside of it. We get a very, slanted story of events. So to me, these are powerful. These are important. We need to know this and move forward because, who would ever thought that there was a Black Power movement in Britain, if you were here in America, because they didn't teach that to us. You know what I'm saying? We know that there was some, but then we don't even have the full story here in America because it's very slanted. So amazing documentary. I highly recommend to anybody, even if you're not a person of color, if you're an ally. And if you're not an ally, man, you need to change your view. You need to see what's going down. What's the real talk? Because that's what they're showing in these documentaries. I love it. So Black Power, British Story of Resistance, highly recommend. I'm going to toss it over to Glenn with Subnormal, a British scandal.
The British scandal. And this one was also gripping as parents. The thing that you most care about is your kid coming up. How are they going to, go into this world? What type of education are they going to get? What type of chances are they going to have? And this is the story of a lot of kids being disadvantaged by a system that saw them as subnormal. So let's throw it to the trailer real quick, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about the third documentary in this these series of Black Power movements in the UK.
Systemic bias often wrongly placed black children in schools for the so-called educationally subnormal.
It was really quite scandalous.
We developed this resilience. With having those labels put on you, year after year, you become that person.
This is their untold story.
I just thought it was normal.
Those in authority were not just doing something scandalously wrong. More importantly, they knew it.
Subnormal, a British scandal.
So there you go. There is Subnormal, and it's gripping. It's examining one of the biggest scandals in history in British education. British is very British. The Britons are very much up on education, and view themselves as educators, renowned educators. And this was just showing how they kind of disadvantaged these kids who came from the West Indies, and they saw them as subnormal. And they
that word, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It kind of hurts the most when it's kids, bro.
Well, because they're disadvantaged from the very beginning. Basically they've come over, they've immigrated, and they didn't have they didn't have that accounted for in how they were reacting to their environment around them. They're using words that they may not have understood because they come from a different place. They just have a different vocabulary, but they took that as, oh, they're subnormal and they're not able to learn, or their emotions are not in check, they're unruly. Not realizing that they have the trauma of leaving their homeland and coming to somewhere different and really not having the opportunities that will be afforded to somebody else. It really examined it. They went through it. They talked about how they figured it out, how some educators, figured out what was going on, and they kind of brought light to it. And it was very eye-opening, and it made you think, what are your children being taught? Who are the charges of your children? Who are the people who are being in charge of what they learn? And it's super powerful, super great film. Brought a tear to my eye just thinking about it. Of course, being a new dad, you being a dad with a kid now, and I think middle school or high school now, you're going through it. You know what I mean? And you're just wondering, how's that kid going to be treated?
I can't even imagine. And you know what I'm saying? As fathers, if this was to happen to our child.
And it's just it was heart gripping, but I wholeheartedly just recommend checking out these films. It really illuminates how people, teachers, activists, everybody can band together to help fight injustice. That's what they did here in Subnormal, and they fought against the British educational system. Basically, a guy came in and he gave a talk about this educational system, and people were so moved by it, they were like, write a book. And then that book kept growing, and people kept reading it until it finally changed the way that they were treating these people, and it made things better. At least in the context of this story. But it was incredible. Once again, it was directed by Latanya Shannon, and it's about an hour long. It is great. They find a lot of great footage, and it was interesting to hear the kids in their story, or to hear stories of these kids about going on. I thought the story was great. Like Puya P was saying, it's really hard to judge and talk about documentaries. But this documentary was, of course, pretty amazing. And I can't say enough about it. I implore you to go check it out. We both implore you to go check out all 3 of these documentaries.
Yes,
they are on Amazon
recommend.
Prime, starting September 17th.
Available now.
Available
now.
Yeah, they're out now. So check them out. They're great. They all fit together. They're all talking about the Black Power movement in the UK and how powerful it was and everything that they had to do to fight to get their voices heard. And we're happy to bring a light to all 3 of those projects because they're quite amazing. And I think you would do yourself well to check them out.
Hell yeah. All right, Glenn, before we get up out of here, how can they reach out to us to recommend docs that they're watching to our viewers? Hey, let us know. These are amazing. I love them. We highly recommend them, but we want to know more. I know I want to know more. So for you, Glenn, how can they reach out to the Blurred Dad?
Check me out at Glenn Levels Up. On Twitter. It's my brand new Twitter thing. I changed it up so you could get to me a little bit easier. Also levelupcomedy.com, Level Up Comedy on all your socials. Glenn Lawrence Laughs, Glenn Lawrence Comedy on your IG, as well as Facebook. So there you go. That's how you could get in touch with me. What about you, brother?
I appreciate that. All right, for your boy Kuya P, you can follow me at Strange Since 1977 or at Some Far East, Twitter, IG, the legend Kuya P over on TikTok, and of course at the Nerds of Color, and at Show Pal Show, and here with my brother Glenn at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday. We want to know what y'all think about these documentaries. We want to hear your recommendations. We appreciate it. We love films. We love filmmaking. We also want to change the world. So let's do that and make sure y'all check out these amazing set of docs over on Amazon Prime. Shout out to all of our friends over at Amazon Prime. And that was awesome, man. Check it out. Till next time. Boom, boom. We're out of here. Kuya P, Glenn Lawrence, NRW. Boom.